Hi, it's Wayne from howtofish.com.au and I'm fishing this morning at the Barwon River. It's a relatively early morning. It's the bottom of the tide, but the tide is rising, so that's good. There's a little bit of a breeze on the water, breaking up that surface a bit, and it feels pretty good. Even when the tide's out, you don't have to cast that far out. You just need to get past the first layer of weed. So I'm casting about a third of the way out of the river. That's all you need to do. You don't need to try and hit the other side. The fish are there. The Barwon River has plenty of fish. But the challenge, of course, is to get them to the bite. So if you get your burley working, you've got the right bait, those fish will come in. But of course, there's always small ones first. So you know from your own fishing, whenever you're trying to hook fish, it's usually the small ones that are there. What you want to do is get enough burley and attract it into the area so that the occasional big ones are around. They see the small fish, fussing over this food. They go in to investigate. What the hell is happening here? Is there anything I can eat? And they come in and take that bait. So you've got to get past these small ones first. But there is always big ones around if you present things properly. Bright sunshine on this day was producing smaller fish. I was getting plenty of bites, but they were small. The night before, I'd actually fished into much heavier conditions. This was tide low, but fish good. So what had happened is that I was casting into some really heavy winds and I was getting fish. Occasionally I was missing very, very good ones. But the trouble with fishing these type of conditions is it's so uncomfortable. You know what it is? You're getting sand blown into your face, you're getting seaweed over your gear, you open your tackle box and everything blows out. It was really uncomfortable, and these winds were terrible for being in them, but great for fishing. And there was some salmon about in there as well, so every now and again I'd hook into something. I lost a couple, some were jumping out as I hooked them. It was fantastic fun, and the great thing about that is that if you can stand the weather, you'll get the fish. This one was small, but I know if I'd stayed, I would have got bigger ones. So back to the sunny day, and I continued to get the fish in. I must admit, I missed a couple of bigger ones, but for the most part, there were small fish there. But it's really nice to know that once you actually get the burley working and you're using the right baits, you can get the fish happening all the time. So it's continuous activity, and I do like that. I don't like to be bored while I'm sitting there. I like some action to be happening, and these fish were providing that. And the main thing was I had the right attractants with me and the right tackle setup. So what I was using was a running burley cage, as you can see here, down to a line stop. I was using my bite hard burley, as I always do, to attract the fish in. And then I was doing something different with my bait. I had a little tiny piece of chicken on a size 14 hook, and all I was doing was dipping that into a special solution that I'd made up from my spice rack. So this was an attractant. I'm testing this out to see if it works. You can see the size of that bait. It's very, very small, but it's still bringing those fish in. It smells very fishy. It's the color of blood, and it's very effective in stimulating the fish to bite. I was testing it here, which is about the third test I've gone through, and every time it's been pretty successful. I've made it thick and sticky so it stays on the bait for quite a while. Also, I made it bright red, the color of blood, so that it was something that was easily seen in the water. So the fish had a chance to actually locate it by smell and by color. Every now and again you'd hook into a good fish, which is what I'd done here, using this same setup. The trouble is you don't always get them, and as you can see, I get this in fairly close. This was a good mullet, probably the biggest of the day, and he decided to leave me just as I got him into the shallow. But losing fish is part of fishing, and it happens many times. Once before I'd been brim fishing, and in this session there was only one fish that I actually hooked into, but I didn't strike into it properly, which meant that the hook just pulled out. I can tell you I was not impressed when it's the only fish of the day. I kept casting in with the burley. I kept casting in with the same bait and the the dip that I was using, and I kept getting the same size fish. Yes, they were small, but I knew that big ones would have to be in there. And using the burley and the dips and things is like having a barbecue and cooking the onions. You smell it for miles and it smells great. Even when you're not that hungry, you feel like eating. Then I got into something a bit better. So this was one of the fish that had been waiting around, and while it wasn't as big as the one that I lost, it was still a decent fish. This was a keeper, so I was at least happy that some bigger fish came around on the day. My challenge was to see if I could continue to get some bigger ones, and look, to be honest, I wasn't catching the big ones much at all. I'd lost one, I was getting mainly small ones. Maybe that was going to be it. Kept casting, kept getting fish. It was good, and they kept being small. Not so good. But I did enjoy the activity. I did like the fact that I got it to the point where they were pretty much hitting as soon as I'd actually cast in. I didn't have to wait for long. I did miss a lot because my striking wasn't as good as it could be. Honestly, that's an area I need to really improve on. But I was having great fun just making connection with fish. Was I going to get bigger ones? Well, it seemed not. Well, the last one before I go home. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. If you're interested in the gear, the burley cages, techniques that I'm using, go to my website, howtofish.com.au. See you next time.